I want to share with you tonight about part of my journey and what life is all about for me and what I think I am. And I want to share with you some of my journeys that are painful and some of my journeys that are quite fun. So it's a little bit of a roller coaster, right? And so my topic is ignorance is not bliss. Uh, what you don't know about yourself can cost you. Now, we are bombarded with tons of decision makings to do every day. Many things, matters compete for our attention. So what do we have to do? We have to make decisions about what to address, what to pay attention to, what to know more about, and what to ignore. And this is a very normal part of our life. So the things that matter to us, the things that's going to be consequential, the things that will bring good ROIs, we take care of. In fact, we search the web and we enhance ourselves and we get to know more and more so that we can get the best return. And there's absolutely nothing wrong about that. And those that are inconsequential, those that we think, nah, it's not important, those that we think, we'll leave it alone for a while, it's not going to explode, we don't pay much attention to it. That's good resource management. And I think that's pretty good optimization of productivity and efficiency. And that's what we all do. But what if in the course of our decision making about what's important, what's consequential, and what's not, what if we made a mistake? What if somewhere along the line we go, oh, important stuff, nah. What if some of the nahs becomes wow? And so I think it's quite important to think about our decision making, what we choose to ignore or even become ignorant of, and what we choose to pay attention to. And so let's talk about ignorance a little bit. The two aspects of ignorance that I want to share with you is part of my own realization. One is our own deficiencies. Now, if there's one category of matters that we decide it's the nah part, that will be our deficiencies. Nobody likes to talk about what they're not good at. Nobody. It's not good looking. It doesn't feel good talking about it. We just tend to cover it. And it's human nature to do that. And there's nothing wrong with it. But what if it blows up in your face? What if that inconspicuous tear one day becomes a chasm in a relationship that you really treasure? What if that happens? What if that unnoticeable blemish later became the cause of a career disaster that ends in a scandal? Those things could happen. And so it seems to me that looking at our own deficiencies become quite important, but we are very good at not doing that. In fact, we invent positive words to describe negative things. I look at CVs all the time. We are constantly hiring teachers and consultants and do that. And so I'm looking at CVs almost every week. And when it comes to skills, Excel, Microsoft Office, they will use words like mastery over. That means the guy is good. Sometimes people use proficient at. And something is not quite right when people use proficient at, because maybe they're good at it, but there are some things about the Office, Microsoft Office, that they're not very good at. So they use a positive word, maybe a lower grade positive word, to imply there's some grayish area of deficiency. Well, what's the next level down? I've seen a resume that says, I am knowledgeable about. Well, I know about Microsoft Office. I may not know what to do with it, but I know about it. So we are very good in using positive words to cover up. And what's more interesting is that when we look at CVs, and hopefully after this talk, when you look at your own CV or when you look at other people's CV, you have a different perspective. What is a CV anyway? It's curriculum vitae, course of life. Now, how come everybody's course of life is positive? How come everybody's perfect? I have no understanding of that. I've never seen a CV that goes, well, I am a borderline team player. I don't follow instructions well. I have an erratic mood swing, and I have no control over spending. You never see that. But it seems to me that, we have turned many, many things around. We do everything we can. We even rename CV so that it has a different meaning. If a CV is supposed to be a CV, then it has to be the course of your life, both the good and the bad. Well, maybe we should have a curriculum vitae and a curriculum mortis. Positive and negative, show me both. In fact, as an employer, I really want to see what people are not good at. So, we do all sorts of things. So one of the things we do is we kind of cover up our own deficiencies. Now, you may say, that's my life. That's how I run my life. Bug off. Okay, fine. Right? And sometimes we choose to do that. We know things are not quite right, but there are other matters that are more urgent. And so we cover up. Sometimes we ignore, sometimes we tend to be ignorant about it. But the tragedy is number two. Ignorance is not bliss when we experience the inevitability of the horrendous cost of deficiency unaddressed. That's a problem. Now, let me share with you something that happened to me. And let me go to the next slide. Yeah. My journey, it's kind of a broken heart. So it starts pretty bad, but it will end well. Don't worry, it will end quite well. I never knew that I had an issue of abandonment, that I felt abandoned. And out of that, there was a sense of insecurity, deeply rooted, and a sense of inferiority complex. These are pretty bad things. I never knew that. I thought I was fine. I realized that I had some emotional problems of insecurity, of blurring of personal boundaries when I became kind of ill and I went to see a counselor. And I went through some intensive counseling. You say, well, that happens all the time. That's their job. Their job is to dig up dirt. That's how they justify you paying them, to dig up your dirt. But that shouldn't have happened to me, not because I was perfect by any means, but that shouldn't happen to a person with a graduate training in counseling and ministry. That shouldn't happen to a person who does life coaching to business leaders in Silicon Valley. That shouldn't be happening to a person who does career counseling to executives, who does marital counseling to families and intergenerational problems. That shouldn't happen to that person because that person is equipped to diagnose, to dig up, to analyze, to counsel, and to help heal. I'm telling you this, I knew every problem that people had. I've seen it all. The pre-IPO jitters, the post-IPO letdowns, midlife crisis, empty nesting, dysfunction, relationships, suicidal tendencies, depressions, you name it. I've seen it all. And I knew it all. And I had a good head on my shoulders. Being trained at MIT with engineering, I was rational. I was totally equipped. I was like the almost perfect robot to be the doctor, to heal. So I knew everything about what people are dealing with except my own. I never knew that until things got into trouble. I ended up having some behavioral issues, bad habits, character issues. Then I realized something is deeply wrong. And that's when I discovered that, wait a minute, this is not funny. And what happened was that it didn't go addressed on time, and I ended up having a broken marriage and of more than 20 years, and a stellar career that is internationally rooted. Both collapsed. So I was riding high, at one moment, and the next moment I was kind of crawling along. So I mentioned about my background is because if it hadn't happened to me, it could happen to anyone. I mean, if it could happen to a trained professional, somebody who has the eye and the heart and the mind to see through things, to diagnose, to look at deficiencies, and yet he himself fell into the trap. If that could happen to me, and that did, it could happen to anyone. And so it's the inability of things that we don't know about ourselves that we should have addressed. Well, this is human nature. We are all human beings, so we come with a package deal, right? You cannot select the good and don't have the bad. So let's not feel bad about it. We all come with a package. With the positives, there is the negatives. Take it or leave it. So that's who we are. We all have some sort of woundedness. We all have some sense of, unfulfillment in relationships. We all have some things that we know we should have done and that we're not doing well, but we're just paying attention to it. And so that's what happened to me. And so after the collapse of my career and my marriage all at the same time, talk about stress in life. Those are the two major stresses in life. I was lucky I didn't go crazy. After that, I realized that, wait a minute, I better take inventory. I better take a closer look at what's going on. And so I began to think about what I really want in life and what I really want out of life. And so I began to think about value. What do I really value? Now, this comes to hamburger. Let me set it aside because I wanted to look at the hamburger and the milkshakes and the ice cream, the apple pie out of home. When I look inside myself and say, this has to stop, I really need to look at my deficiencies and problems, I began to think about what I really value. What's my true norm? Who am I really? What really is my passion? Deep down, what do I really desire? What do I want to get into life, and what do I want out of life? And I realized that it has everything to do with value. Now, our behavior is not determined by what we think is right. Our behavior is determined by what we value. Now, once in a while, we may do things that we think are right. But all the time, every action that you take is a demonstration of what you value at the moment. Now, once a short while, I crave for those things. And when I want my juicy hamburger, cheeseburger, with the right amount of char, and the right amount of cheese, and with the bread just nicely grilled, washed down with a special, milkshake with the right viscosity, that comes with a spoon as a standard issue. And after that, we have an apple pie, I don't know, and the apple pie has to be made with green apples. When I crave for that, at the moment, I didn't care what was right. All I valued was my 5 minutes of enjoyment. And so, the question we have to ask about ourselves is, if we want to dig deep, which I did, and find out who am I really, who are you really, what defines you, how do we search about who we are? The answer is, what do you really value? What is at the core of your being? What really turns you on in terms of excitement, fulfillment? What is truly you? And, the true norm. And then I realized, when I started looking at my true north, looking at my values, that I have been living life with a ticking time bomb. And my deficiencies are like landmines that I tiptoe through. Well, one of those days, it blew up in my face. So, to me, it was like a homecoming. When I look into my value, what I really want, what I really desire, it was like coming home. it was like being true to myself. I mean, I can call Taiwan my home, I can call Singapore my home, Hong Kong my home, the United States is my home. But I think for me now, true home is where I live being true to myself and according to the value that I think is what I want. And so I invite you also tonight to think about what is your value, what is your true north? Because therein lies the fulfillment of life. And now I'm very happy I'm integrating everything that I know. My technical training and teaching STEM, my experience in life coaching, leveraging that, in career coaching, in counseling, and working with young people and adults alike. Mentoring them, working with them, motivating them, and encouraging them to find a true north and not be ashamed about their own deficiencies. Because it is at the very discovery and addressing of those deficiencies that we begin to find our true home. So may you find your true home and your true north. And that's my sharing tonight. Thank you.